The rules state for a failure to cooperate with testing or clinical care, it can go into multiple things, right? It's either a fine or it's potentially the violation is to miss a certain amount of time, right? So that was a lot of the confusion that was going on there. Nowhere in there, though, did we see a missing amount or 5 games in particular. Is there what information do you have on that that can kind of lead to, like, do you think this is a suspect suspension, or do you think it's legitimate?
Now hold on now, player. I'm a black man in America. You can't be painting me like I was snooping around the NFL offices, investigative reporting. I
Oh,
just read. I just
got
downloaded the
your
document and read it. You're about to get me
you got
fucking
your
okay.
law
arrested.
degree.
Nah, man, I don't want that. I
No, no,
want.
no. He got his law degree.
I'm
Remember,
just
he got
saying,
his law
Cam,
Yeah.
degree in the last three
y-
days. Come on
No.
now.
y'all got to use the right words when you look. I'm
No.
a brother in America. I wasn't investigating anything, Roger. I was nowhere in New York. I just downloaded the document and read it.
That's about research. Research,
Yeah, I
investigation.
researched.
Fine,
Yeah, bro.
fine.
You got me around here like I'm
I
deep
don't
throat,
want
like
that.
I'm snooping around.
No,
Roger, it wasn't me.
no,
Anyway,
man.
no, man, I know it's been a lot of chatter, and the three of us, we hopped on, and you know what I mean, and we started talking about it. And I think it's as simple as this. I think I would encourage all of us to just download. That's the right. Download it and read it. It's very, I think, after we read it a couple of times, um, it's sort of self-explanatory. I think where the league is going with Lael Collins, and it seems to me if you go to the very end, I think it's Appendix E. It outlines very clearly what the player. There's some things the player must do if they're going to miss any tests, and I think again, it's sort of again, and I'm being brief. If you're going to miss, you got to communicate it, and then they're going to work together, the player, agent, and the advisory board to determine. And here's the big thing: they're going to determine if you were trying to evade, right, the test. And if they determine that it was an evasive, not just a miss, then you go up into that discipline phase, and they're either going to discipline you one of two ways for truly a missed test. And Cam, you guys have said this. If it's truly a missed test that they did not think you were trying to evade, then it's just a fine, right? They're just going to fine you. But obviously, if they've suspended Lyle, that means that they've determined that those missed tests were him trying to evade, or you know what I mean, or lie to the advisory board. And that has a whole different set of discipline. And those can be up through the first four. That's a fine. And I may be wrong. It's the first five, I think. But after that fifth one, then that's where it becomes suspensions. And so obviously with him being in the suspension category, it is no doubt, no doubt in my mind after reading it again that they're trying to make a case. Now, none of us know the facts or what happened, but they're going to try to make a case that they think that he was being evasive or intentionally not communicating and missing those tests. And the other piece, guys, that we've heard a lot about this week is the number of tests. Now, you guys remember that this is something that was collectively bargained between the players and the owners. They signed this document. They agreed to abide by these rules. The other piece of information in there is they agree that they can test a player up to 10 times a month. So, if that's what they in fact did for whatever reason, they're perfectly within the rules according to that document to test him. And again, if he didn't communicate or he didn't meet any of those tests, he had requirements to do. So it seems like, again, not knowing all the facts, but it seems pretty clear that he's in violation of this document, and his lawyers got a long uphill battle if they're going to get them off of this hill. And I don't think Roger Goodell has been involved yet because he's part of the appeal process. So he wasn't going to be involved in the initial disciplinary decision. So that's, again, what I got from reading it. And again, it's out there for all of us to read if you choose or not, or you can just have an opinion.
See, yeah. I mean, and 10 games to me does feel, or sorry, 10 games. 10, uh, 10 tests a month seems a little excessive, personally, to me. But first, I want to commend you on your amazing investigative supporting right there. I really got some unsolved mystery vibes from you. It was really Full of juice.
Hey,
Loved it.
Scooby Doo was in
Love
the
it.
Scooby Doo was in the DNA when I was a kid.
Geraldo Rivera over there.
There it
Ladies and
is.
gentlemen.
There it is. There it is. But Cam, you said that. I mean, from my understanding is that you picked up that he had missed what 7 tests total? Is that
7.
7 tests?
Yeah, the numbers have been all over the place. I mean, we've heard that, that he had missed, that they had tested him, 180 times or something like that. I've also heard more in the lines that it was 16 times and he missed 7 of those.
Right.
So, we don't know that aspect and, that particular detail. There is thought, and I think it was Mickey Spagnolia that was on 105.3 The Fan yesterday that I heard that some of those tests were missed because it was during COVID and facilities weren't open and hard to get to. Then I can't remember who was on the fan today. I just caught a moment of it and they were like, oh no, it was Michael Irving. Michael Irving was on the fan this morning and he flat out said he doesn't understand how you miss and how you don't cooperate because they're right there in the room and they're like, we're going to sit here until you pee. So
yeah,
he had a hard time even understanding how someone would miss 1, nonetheless 7. So I think there's a whole lot more to the story, and we'll see if we actually get the details on it.
yeah.
And see, guys, again, for me, the circumstances, it isn't that they're irrelevant. Again, according to that document that they signed, they are required to notify the administrator if they're gonna miss. It's a requirement. So him saying it was COVID, whatever, he still had a requirement. Their job is to notify, and then they work together, the player and this advisory person, to determine that they did in terms of communication, that they weren't trying to evade. That is something that they have to work with. And the thing here, I think, man, is that he clearly didn't do that piece. For whatever reason, he felt like he didn't show up. He was required to call them and notify them. He clearly did not do that because, again, if he did, this would be a fine situation. It wouldn't be a suspension situation. So he has caused the folks on the other side, his actions has caused them to determine that he was evading. And I think that's the key piece is if there's deception or evasion and they make that determination, then they can suspend you. So that's the piece for us to focus on is what was he doing to cause them to make that determination? Right? I mean, we keep saying it's the missed test, but it isn't the missed test. It's what he did not communicate to miss the test, I think, is what is going to be the key to sort of listen for in the coming weeks if they're going to appeal this. It could be just posturing, but who knows?
It's interesting because you brought up the point, D, that the team wouldn't know if he wasn't showing up because that was how it was written into the agreement, which is really bizarre to me because in my former life, when I was married, we owned a moving company and our drivers would get pulled by DOT for a drug test. We were notified immediately and they had 3 hours to get to a facility and test. And how that got written into that the team that's employing, they're not, I mean, I guess they're contract employees, but they're kind of not. The team would not be aware that he's missing that many tests. That's just, it's kind of a strange situation to me.
Man, it feels
so.
There's just some weird kind of rules and things that you like when you start diving deeper into this. Some things just don't add up on both sides, and it gets to a point to where, like, if he could try and fight it, but we all know it doesn't matter if you're Tom Brady, Ezekiel Elliott, you're gonna lose when it comes to to the Shield, right? You're gonna lose. So at this point in time, it feels like, and I know he's kind of got some guys working on it, trying to get out of the suspension. It's not gonna happen. And at this point in time, I would almost rather take those lumps now, this early in the season, than for the later part of the season when we're really gonna need him when we got, facing guys like Von Miller back out there who is healthy and looking good, and Nick Chubb and stuff like that. I'm not interested in that. If we got to miss this game, this is going to be the one that hurts, right? You got Joey Bosa out there, and that is the big part of all of this right now. This is where it's really going to hit us hard. It's going to hurt our team. Joey Bosa is coming in, and yes, Van Steele's going to be out there. From everything that we're hearing from Jerry Jones, that's what's being reported. They're going to rock with Steele. We all know what happened was steal last year, and
you'll see Bosa.
it's hard to
Schwartz,
defend
two
him.
great
Comes
football
in
players,
unrestricted,
but
you know,
Bosa
trade
having a
last
day
year,
right
a rookie
now.
trade.